The moment Marcus Hayes stepped into the glass-paneled showroom, conversations froze mid-sentence. It wasn't just because he walked in alone. It wasn't because he was black. It was both, and that he carried himself like he owned the place. A silence, sharp as shattered glass, swept across the luxury dealership. He wore a black turtleneck tucked into tailored charcoal slacks, a Rolex peeking from beneath his sleeve. Polished leather loafers tapped against the marble floor as he moved past a silver Bentley Bentayga, pausing to admire the interior through the driver's window. From behind a cherrywood desk, dealership manager Gerald Callahan narrowed his eyes. Callahan had been here 15 years. He knew his clientele. Men with oil money, trust fund kids, middle-aged execs looking for the car that screamed, "I made it." Not men like this. Not his kind. At least not without a basketball contract or a famous last name. Callahan stood up, straightened his blazer, and marched toward Marcus with a smug grin glued to his face like a bad toupee. "Can I help you with something?" he asked, stressing the "you." Marcus turned calmly, his voice smooth and even. "Yeah. I'm interested in the McLaren GT. The 2024 model." Callahan's grin faltered for a split second before returning. "Oh. Well, that one's a bit pricey. You might want to check out the pre-owned section out back." Marcus ignored the jab. "I want to know if it comes with ceramic brakes and full carbon interior." Callahan blinked. "Sir, unless you're here to actually buy something, we'd prefer not to have people loitering around." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "Loitering? You'd be surprised how often people come in here just to take selfies or dream a little. Which is fine. But this is a serious showroom." A customer across the floor chuckled under his breath. Marcus caught the sound. So did Callahan. He felt bolstered. "Listen," Callahan continued, "we don't do test drives unless we see proof of funds or pre-approval. I don't make the rules." Marcus stepped closer. "Are you done assuming?" Callahan's expression hardened. "Sir, if you continue raising your voice, I'll have to ask you to leave." "I haven't raised my voice." "Well, I'm asking you to leave anyway." Marcus stared at him, long and hard. "You sure about that?" "I am," Callahan snapped, waving over a security guard. "Escort him out. Now." As Marcus was gently but firmly guided toward the exit, he glanced back at Callahan and said only one thing. "You just made the biggest mistake of your professional life." Callahan scoffed. "I doubt that." Marcus walked out without a word. No yelling. No threats. No scene. But he smiled. Because what Callahan didn't know was that Marcus hadn't come to buy a car. He came to inspect his dealership. Outside, the California sun reflected off the dealership's spotless windows, but Marcus Hayes didn't flinch. He adjusted his cufflinks, glanced once at the glass doors, then pulled out his phone. One call. Just one. He placed it to his ear. "It's done," he said calmly. "Make the arrangements. I'll be back tomorrow." He hung up. Inside, Gerald Callahan stood smugly behind the reception desk, watching through the window as Marcus walked away. "Unbelievable," he muttered to the young receptionist beside him. "Some people just walk in like they own the place." She forced an uncomfortable smile, saying nothing. Across the showroom, a young trainee named Lena Brooks, barely a month into the job, had watched the entire exchange from behind a column near the coffee bar. She had seen Marcus's calm demeanor, his knowledge of the cars, his patience in the face of blatant disrespect. She also saw Callahan's arrogance in full bloom. "Was that necessary?" she whispered to a colleague as Marcus's Range Rover purred out of the parking lot. "Don't get involved," her coworker muttered. "Callahan's old school. He's been running this place forever. You want to keep your job? Stay quiet." But Lena couldn't unsee it. Something about Marcus's final words unsettled her. "You just made the biggest mistake of your professional life." They echoed in her head long after he was gone. Callahan strutted back into his office like he just swatted a fly. He dropped into his leather chair and picked up his desk phone. "Hey, Rick. Just had to deal with one of those situations again. Yeah, the usual. Guy walks in like he's about to drop $500,000, but you can tell doesn't belong. Black guy. Looked like he just walked out of a music video. Anyway, I handled it." He laughed. "But get this, he actually said I'd regret it." Me. Can you believe that? Some of these people really think the world owes them something. Lena paused outside his office, hearing everything. Her jaw clenched. She couldn't believe he was talking like that, so openly, so shamelessly. Callahan ended the call and strolled back onto the floor like a king surveying his kingdom. "All right, folks, let's tighten up. We've got a new month coming. High-end buyers only. No distractions. No window shoppers." "Got it," someone said. The rest nodded, though several looked uncomfortable. The dealership returned to normal on the surface. But in the break room, whispers started. "Who is that guy? Did you see his car though? He didn't look broke to me. Lena sat quietly, sipping coffee, replaying everything. She didn't know who Marcus Hayes was, but something told her this wasn't over. Far from it. Out on the road, Marcus drove with one hand on the wheel, calm and collected. A small smile tugged at the corner of his lips as he passed the dealership's massive billboard. Tomorrow, his name would be on it. And Gerald Callahan? He'd never see it coming. By 9 a.m. the next day, the dealership buzzed with unease. It wasn't business as usual. An internal email had gone out at 7 a.m. sharp. Mandatory staff meeting at 10 a.m. Important announcement regarding new ownership and structural changes. Attendance required. That one sentence was enough to light a fire of speculation. New ownership? What the hell does that mean? Whispered Tim, one of the older salesmen, to Lena. I thought Mr. Wallace was the owner? He was, but he hasn't stepped foot here in years, Lena replied. The showroom looked the same, cars gleamed under perfect lighting, fresh espresso brewed behind the reception, but the energy had shifted. Tension lingered in the air like a heavy fog. Everyone pretended to work, but nobody focused. Callahan, on the other hand, seemed unbothered. He strolled through the showroom with his usual swagger, giving shoulder taps and smug grins. No need to panic, folks. I've seen this kind of thing before. Probably some rich investor buying out the Wallace Group. We'll be fine. Think they'll bring in their own management? One sales rep asked. Callahan smirked. Please. They'd be lucky to have me running the place. I built this showroom's reputation. No outsider's going to change that. But Lena wasn't convinced. She'd been thinking about Marcus ever since yesterday. The way he carried himself. The warning he gave. The quiet power behind his calm words. And now, less than 24 hours later, the dealership's owner was gone and someone new was stepping in? It couldn't be coincidence. At 9:55 a.m., employees began gathering in the showroom's main lobby. The luxury cars were still perfectly lined up behind them like silent witnesses. Some whispered, others refreshed their inboxes for clues. Callahan adjusted his tie in a mirror, grinning at himself. Showtime, he muttered. The front doors opened. 3 black SUVs glided into the lot. Shiny, dark, intimidating. The kind of arrival that screamed power. Callahan's grin stretched wider. Now that's what I'm talking about. Big money. The doors to the lead SUV opened and 2 assistants in sleek suits stepped out first. One held a briefcase. The other scanned the area and nodded. Then the back door opened. And Marcus Hayes stepped out. Silence. No one moved. No one breathed. He wore a navy blue tailored suit that hugged his frame like armor. His steps were calm, confident, and every eye followed him as he walked toward the front doors like he'd walked them 1,000 times before. Callahan's grin shattered. Wait a damn minute, he whispered. Marcus entered the dealership and stopped in the center of the lobby. His eyes swept across the staff, calmly, assertively. Then he turned to Callahan face to face again. Good morning, Marcus said smoothly. I believe you all received the memo. The room was dead silent. I'm Marcus Hayes, he continued, the new owner of this dealership. You could hear a pin drop. Marcus's words didn't just land. They detonated. I'm Marcus Hayes, he repeated. The new owner of this dealership. Callahan's mouth hung open, eyes flicking from Marcus to the 2 assistants standing behind him. His brain scrambled for logic, but nothing fit. He took a shaky step forward. This has to be some kind of joke, he said with a nervous laugh. You're the new? Yes. Marcus cut in, his voice cool and razor sharp. As of this morning, Hayes Automotive Group officially owns this location, along with 6 others in the state. Murmurs broke out. No way. That guy from yesterday? Wait, what? Callahan's face turned beet red. No. There's no way someone like you. He stopped himself mid-sentence, realizing too late how that would sound. Marcus smiled thinly. Someone like me? I mean, there must be a misunderstanding, Callahan stammered. This can't be real. Marcus turned to the staff. I came in yesterday, unannounced, as a customer, just like anyone else. I wanted to see how this place really operates. Lena's eyes widened in realization. I didn't wear a name tag. I didn't flaunt credentials. I asked a question about a car. He glanced at Callahan. And I was told I couldn't afford it. Without a single question about my credit, my ID, or my name. The employees shifted uncomfortably. Callahan stepped forward. Look, I thought you were someone just looking around. You don't understand how many people come in here and waste our time. No, Marcus replied. You don't understand. You didn't see a man, you saw a stereotype. You didn't hear my words, you heard your own assumptions. And then you kicked me out. Callahan raised his voice, desperate now. I have protocols to follow. I treat everyone the same. Marcus's smile vanished. His voice dropped. No, you don't. Callahan looked around, hoping for someone to back him. But the room was silent. No support. Not even a nod. Marcus turned to Lena. You were the only one who looked uncomfortable with what happened yesterday. Lena straightened up. Because it was wrong, sir. Completely wrong. He nodded once, then faced the entire staff. This isn't just about what happened to me. I've already reviewed customer reports, internal complaints, even employee exit interviews. There's a pattern here. A culture of discrimination, arrogance, and favoritism. That ends now. Callahan sneered. You think you can just waltz in here, give a speech, and... You're fired, Marcus said coldly. It landed like thunder. The doors closed behind Gerald Callahan with a loud, echoing finality. Everyone inside stood frozen, watching the space where he once stood like a ghost had just been exorcised. Marcus didn't wait. He turned back to the staff, all of them wide-eyed, some nervous, others visibly relieved. Let's get one thing clear, he said, his tone strong but composed. I'm not here to run this place with fear, but I will run it with purpose. A short assistant stepped forward, holding a leather folder. Marcus took it, flipping it open. Effective today, he began, reading from the document. We're conducting a full review of all senior management. Department heads will report to me directly for the next 2 weeks. There will be interviews, past and current staff. Anonymous surveys. Full transparency. A low murmur rolled across the room. Marcus closed the folder and looked up. If you're here to treat people right, regardless of race, background, income, or accent, you've got nothing to worry about. But if you've gotten comfortable behind bias and big titles, your days are numbered. Some heads dropped. Others nodded slowly. Then Marcus did something that truly shocked them. He walked over to the coffee bar, grabbed a cup, and leaned casually against the counter. Not like a boss. Like one of them. I've worked at every level of this industry. Washed cars. Filed papers. Even got yelled at by managers like Callahan. He looked around, locking eyes with a few employees. I know what it's like to be overlooked. I know what it's like to walk into a room and get judged before you open your mouth. The staff listened in silence. But I also know what it means to rebuild. From the inside out. And this place? It's about to become something better. From the back, Lena finally raised her voice. What happens to the sales team? Marcus smiled. You keep doing what you do. Sell with honesty. Treat customers like people. And if you're good at your job, I'll make sure you're rewarded for it. But I'll also be introducing new staff, people from underrepresented backgrounds, people who've been denied opportunities in places like this. A young black mechanic in the corner blinked in disbelief. He'd been invisible for years, just another grease-covered guy in the back. For the first time, someone saw him. And Lena, Marcus continued, turning to her, you've got leadership in you. We'll be talking more. Soon. Her eyes widened. Thank you, sir. Marcus looked around one last time. This is the beginning, he said. Of a new culture. One built on respect, excellence, and integrity. If you're ready for that, welcome aboard. The room erupted into quiet applause. Not loud, not dramatic, but real. Something had shifted. The dealership was no longer Callahan's empire of ego. It was Marcus Hayes' vision of fairness and future. And this was just the start. What? Callahan barked, eyes wide. You can't do that. I've been here 15 years. And I've owned this place for 15 hours, Marcus replied, and already seen enough. 2 security guards, different ones this time, stepped forward. Escort Mr. Callahan out, please. Just like that, Gerald Callahan was walked through the same glass doors he once felt he ruled. Only this time he was the one being watched in silence. And Marcus? He stood tall, unshaken, and finally in control. Word spread like wildfire. By noon, news outlets were already circling. A local journalist who'd once interviewed Marcus for a Forbes Under 40 feature caught wind of the shakeup and tweeted. Breaking, Marcus Hayes, CEO of Hayes Automotive Group, just fired a dealership manager in California for alleged racial discrimination after revealing himself as the new owner. The post went viral. At the dealership, customers began trickling in, some curious, others supportive. An elderly black couple came in just to shake Marcus's hand. We've lived around here for 40 years, the woman said. This place always felt cold. Today? It feels different. Marcus smiled. It's going to stay different. Inside, the staff adjusted to the changes with mixed reactions. Some were energized, motivated by Marcus's authenticity. Others, the ones who had benefited from the old structure, treaded carefully. In the break room, Lena sat with Omar, the young black mechanic who'd stayed silent for years. For the first time, they had a real conversation. Never seen someone like him do that, Omar said, still wide with disbelief. Most people just complain and move on. He didn't complain, Lena replied. He took over. Downstairs, Marcus met with the service team. He didn't talk from behind a desk. He sat with them on a metal bench in the repair bay, grease smell and all. How long you been here? He asked a Latino technician named Ernesto. 8 years, Ernesto said. Never got promoted. Trained 3 guys who became supervisors, though. Marcus nodded slowly. That's going to change. Starting now. Ernesto blinked. For real? Marcus looked him dead in the eye. For real. Upstairs, the remaining managers gathered in a glass-walled conference room, nervously awaiting their turn to speak with Marcus. One whispered, he's going to clean house. Another replied, maybe it's time it was cleaned. Later that afternoon, a group of community leaders arrived at the dealership. They shook Marcus's hand, some with tears in their eyes. You didn't just buy a business, one pastor said. You gave people hope. But not everyone was happy. Callahan, humiliated and boiling with resentment, sat in a bar a few miles away, ranting to anyone who would listen. He's playing the race card. I built that place from the ground up. But nobody cared. Back at the dealership, Lena passed Marcus in the hallway. Sir, she said, do you ever slow down? He chuckled. Not when there's this much to fix. She smiled. It's already better. Marcus paused, thoughtful. It will be. But we've got work to do. I'm not just changing policies. I'm changing perceptions. That takes time. And action. And with that, he headed back to the floor, sleeves rolled up, shoulders back. Because Marcus Hayes didn't come to make noise. He came to make change. 3 weeks later, the dealership was unrecognizable, but in the best way. Gone were the stiff greetings and cold stares. Customers were greeted with warm smiles, real conversations, and respect regardless of what they wore or drove in with. The staff had changed too. Not entirely, but enough to feel the difference. New hires brought fresh energy. A Latina woman now led customer service. A formerly overlooked intern who happened to be on the autism spectrum now handled inventory systems with flawless precision. Marcus had built a team where diversity wasn't a checkbox, it was the engine. Lena had officially been promoted to assistant manager. On her first day in the new role, she walked into Marcus's office, nervous but proud. You said I had leadership in me, she said. I didn't believe you then. Marcus smiled. I saw it before you did. Now run with it. Outside, the dealership hosted its first ever community day. Free car washes, food trucks, local vendors, and even a mobile clinic offering free checkups. Families roamed the lot not to buy, but to connect. A young boy stared at a black Mercedes coupe and whispered to his father, one day, I'm gonna drive that. Marcus overheard and smiled. You dream it, work for it, you just might. The father looked up. Thank you for what you're doing here. It matters. Media crews returned to cover the transformation. Marcus stood in front of the dealership's new sign, Hayes Auto, where respect drives everything, and answered questions. What made you come here undercover first? One reporter asked. I needed to see the truth, Marcus said plainly. Not the polished version. The real one. And now that you've seen it? Marcus looked around. Staff laughing with customers. Kids playing near a booth. Lena managing a situation with a firm grace. Now he said, I'm building something better. And he was. The ripple effect of his leadership reached beyond the dealership. Other business owners in the area took notice. Some followed his lead. Others simply saw what was possible when you lead with integrity and courage. As the sun dipped behind the hills, casting a warm glow over the lot, Marcus stood alone by the glass door where Callahan had once dismissed him. A full circle moment. He didn't gloat. He didn't smile. He just nodded once to himself. This wasn't revenge. It was redemption. And for everyone watching this story unfold, now it's your turn. Have you ever experienced discrimination like Marcus did? Or seen someone underestimated because of how they looked? What would you have done if you were in his shoes? We want to hear your thoughts in the comments. Let's talk about it. And if this story inspired you even just a little, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories like this one. Because change starts with stories. And stories start with you.